Well, I think when you get into punk, right, the whole reason is you want it to be authentic and sincere and genuine, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want all the frills and bells and whistles.
It's what we're doing. Come and check it out. It's what we're all about. 561 Music.
Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
How's it going, Hector?
It's going.
It's nice to see you.
I mean,
I've been seeing quite a lot of you, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got better. It had been really weird. Like, you were away for like a fortnight, but...
I feel like I've been traveling way too much lately, but that's fine.
Yeah,
traveling's a good thing.
It's fun. And I count seeing Gavin as seeing you as well. So,
well, there you go. Well, then there you go.
Yeah, you're very so. So, Gavin Hector's son is playing with Bomb the Algorithm. So that's very exciting. Yeah. We've been getting ready for a show on Saturday at Anchors Away down in Deerfield. So if anyone wants to come to Deerfield and keep us company, that's where we're going to be. We're playing with some other bands. It's going to be rad.
Yeah, man.
Can't wait.
And then Sunday you got the Songwriter Circle.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you want to come see me play at something, I haven't done anything like this in a while. I'm going to be playing all of the songs from, the 25 years I've spent, well, more than that, like 30 years I've spent writing songs. Going to try and do like a big old selection of them. And there's a bunch of other people doing it too. There's 4 of us. It's me, it's Bryce Allen, William Kimball, and Tim O'Donnell. Tim O'Donnell's, he's just amazing. He's from the Nouveau Honkies, and
Nice.
he just plays like he can play anything. He's one of those people that makes his own instruments.
It's a good lineup, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, William, he's been on the podcast. Sort of older people will remember the Hit Show.
Yeah.
Remember them?
Yeah.
Wasn't James in the Hit Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
They were really good. And so was Virgil. God rest his soul.
Yeah. And then you got Bryce, which is a powerhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Bryce Allen. There's no, it's funny, when I contacted him to explain the format of the show. And he said, how many songs will I be playing? And because I'd been speaking to someone else who was kind of unconfident about doing it right before, and I'd been saying, oh, don't worry, I basically did the same thing with Bryce. And he's like, dude, I've got millions of songs. I was like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Which he does. That's
totally. That's pretty funny. So, yeah, it's Sunday, 6 to 10. It's this Sunday, December 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to be there, aren't you?
I will be.
Yeah, man. Should all come. So we have Mark Dubin on the show today. How's it going, man?
Fantastic. How about you?
Yeah, very well.
Awesome. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And Ricky booked this. He's booked quite a few of them now. And what a blessing it is, because it means that we're getting people who are just slightly out of our radar sphere of influence, and more like interesting people who we don't sort of see on a almost daily basis.
Sure.
It ends up happening when we're booking it, not all the time. We have the submissions process, so we do book other people, but it's nice because Ricky had some people in mind and he just lined them up.
Yeah. Ricky's a cool dude.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he asked if he could help out, and Ben was like, oh, yeah, if you want to book a couple of people on the show, it's great. And I think within 4 hours we were booked all the way through the beginning of March.
Yeah. So this is what happened. This is what actually happened. I made a terrible mistake a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't book Dom on the songwriter night thing. I had meant to, and I thought I had, but it slipped my mind. And when everyone got there, I was like, oh no, I forgot to invite Dom. So anyway, I was gutted about it and embarrassed. And then Ricky calls me up and he was like, are you all right, mate? And you looked like he was kind of a bit worried that I was like, and I'm like, I'm all right. I'm just so busy. I've got so much stuff going on. And he asked if he could help, and he is doing so.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's helping a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So, what's the story of you picking up an acoustic guitar and becoming a troubadour? How did that all start?
Well, I started out in punk rock,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, loved, Minor Threat, Circle Jerks, Ascendants.
Sure.
Dead Kennedys, all that stuff. Black
Nice.
Flag. And then I started playing punk in bands and stuff. Probably in my 30s, I kind of, started getting away from punk, writing music that was punk.
Yeah.
Always a punk at heart, right?
Sure.
But I kind of started writing more songs on acoustic and kind of by myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a friend of mine had kind of said, hey, you should, take some of this stuff out of the bedroom and sort of, play it live.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was liberating. It was really, really cool to not have like that sonic wall behind you.
Yeah.
It's sort of like playing without a net kind of thing, like, oh my God, here we go.
It's very different, isn't it? It's like, it's second to stand-up comedy. It's like the most naked you can be up there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you stop playing the acoustic guitar for any reason, there's no sound.
None. Yeah, none. And there's no hiding.
Yeah.
Right? There's no hiding. There's no getting away with anything. Like you have to perform.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be entertaining. You have to perform, and it was exciting. It was just exciting. So right about then is when I started getting into kind of like an alt country Americana thing. So I had a band called Los Diablos that we were doing that, and in between our shows, I'd get bored, so I would just like show up and do some one-off acoustic gigs. And then when that kind of happened away, I just started doing some solo stuff, and it's been amazing.
Wicked.
Amazing.
So when did that begin?
Probably, wholeheartedly within the last 10 years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly, like when I was really like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, it used to be like I would be in a band and then sometimes do solo stuff. But now it's kind of changed where I do a lot more solo stuff. Yeah. And then every once in a while I'll play in a band.
Yeah. And I think that's quite it's a relatively common progression for the lifers, like us, who just decided we're going to do it forever. It's because it makes sense in so many different ways because, like you said, it's a challenge and it's liberating because it's, you can play whatever you want. You can basically be exactly what you are, represent yourself how you want to be represented. And also just in terms of like the sheer craziness and like energy sapping mayhem of being in a punk band, that takes a lot. That takes a lot out of you,
Well, I think when you get into punk, right, the whole reason is you want it to be authentic and sincere and genuine, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want all the frills and bells and whistles. And I think once you kind of do that for a while, then we start to look for different things, right? Because we want to feed that originality in us, right? Because after a while, how many records can you do? How many punk songs can you write, right?
Right.
So then you start to go, okay, well, what else can I do? And the next thing that I found through some friends was people like Graham Parsons and Steve Earle and Buck Owens and Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
When you start to listen to that, you go, oh shit, that's almost relatively the same as the punk stuff, So then we start to do that. You go, okay, well, if I slow down the stuff and I start singing maybe not so angrily about everything in front of me, but I start to be a little bit more introspective.
Yeah.
And I start to get more angry at myself, right? Then we start to write these country songs. You start to do that. And then when you strip it down and you're doing that outlaw country stuff with the band, once you get to that point, then you're like, okay, well, now where can I go? Yeah. And let's just strip it down completely. And let's go. Let's do this, like just me and acoustic guitar, songs, and that's it.
I love it and I respect it. And, we were just talking off mic about the fact that, I've started doing a night that is basically that, like a guys with an acoustic guitars night. And the last month when I went to it, I was like taken aback by it. Everyone was listening. It's been a long time.
100% right.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to a show and I felt like the people everyone was engaged. I haven't seen that for a long time. Amazing,
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. When we were doing what I had done is probably last year or so, I started doing a thing called the songwriters, storytellers. Yeah. And with the storytellers, what I did is we have a group of about 8 to 10 guys down in Broward and South, down south from here. Yeah. That we'll get together and we'll play like one show a month. Yeah. And, we each do about 20-minute sets, just really quick, simple sets. But we talk about stories and we hang out. Yeah. And it is definitely special because I think that, like what you said, when you're doing a show, you don't really get to, as far as the musician that's playing, right, you don't really get to experience it, right? Because you're busy, you're focused, you're in your zone. Yeah. You're not really able to hang out. And even when you are hanging out, you have it's different. It's just different, right? You're in the club, you're hanging out.
Yeah, and you're wired from just all the setup and
Right.
craziness and trying to make sure everything works. You know,
Right.
like when I do that, which I do a lot. You know, I'm in way too many bands, but but you know,
I don't know how you guys do that.
True story.
but you're just like wired from all the stuff going on, walking around like a headless chicken.
Right.
Yeah, can't enjoy it.
Yeah,
And when you bring it down and you bring it low and you do like a storyteller kind of thing, people are really there to hear the song.
Yeah.
Right. They're there to listen to it and enjoy the ambiance and the entertainment.
Well, I think they like to. I mean, from my perspective, anyways, they like to listen to the story, the backstory on the song, and then listen to the song and kind of hear the story through the song.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Don was good at that. Is telling the story and then but leaving out a couple of little bits so that the song hits. You know,
Yeah,
like,
right,
Like
yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, he was good. He was great at that. And honestly, that was my favorite part of it was hearing people, just hearing the chat. Just you know,
Well, it's awesome. I mean, that's initially why I wanted to do that anyway, was for me, right? It was more of a selfish thing. Like I played for years with all these cats, right? At gigs and shows and festivals and on tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And do I really know these guys? Like, I never really get to hang out with them, right? I see them at a show. You're busy doing your thing. I'm busy doing my thing. We're busy talking to our own people. I don't really get to hang out. So this was a time that I could really invite people that I wanted to play with, but actually get to know, and hang out, and have a beer with, or talk to, and it was really cool to actually get to know these guys that I've known, that have actually been around for 25, 30 years, but never really knew them.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
So which people are involved in that? I'm not expecting you to just give me a list of everyone because you put someone on the spot like that. And
No.
it's like, but yeah, what kind of other guys are part of that night?
It's some of my favorite singer songwriters that are in town that don't normally do this stuff. Stephanie Smirkers from Smirks and the Nightmares. Previously from the Copper Tones. We do a lot of stuff together. Scott Crane from Monaco Slim is hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah.
Shane Long from Davey. He does a lot of it. Les Norris, who used to sing in a band called Radio Baghdad back in the day. He's kind of doing that stuff with us now. Dan Bonebreaker, you guys had on. He does that. Keith Mashad. Kelsey Ryan.
I've known Keith for a long time.
Yeah, Keith. Keith is awesome. Kelsey Ryan. And then we have some few others, but we try to lock it in kind of tight, and get that 8 to 10 because everybody kind of knows each other's flows and like that, so we kind of circle around. So it's kind of
How long does the night last?
Usually, like I said, we try to get about 4 people on, and then it's about 20-minute sets.
Okay.
So like what we're doing right now over at Tarpon River Brewing is every second Sunday of the month, we do a thing called day drinking with the storytellers, right? Because not everybody can go out to the club, not everybody can go out at night because they got kids, and we're kind of like, we're not playing kids music anymore, like we were when we were in our teens and 20s. So people have families, they have jobs, they can't hang out at the poorhouse at 2:00 in the morning. So I'm
feeling a bit old for the
dude. It's not. I don't even want to play it too, but So we do it from 2:00 to 6:00 on Sunday. And it's cool because you can bring your pets, your animals, your dogs, bring your kids, hang out, get something to eat.
I've been hearing about Tarpon River quite a lot because it's it's further south, so it hadn't really crossed my radar that much. But lately, a lot of people have been talking to me about it, saying it's a cool place. I'm just going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm the general manager over there, so it was cool when I got the gig about it.
I said nice things.
Thankfully, I was like, dude, I've been hearing about that place. It sucks. It's a cool. It's super cool, man. It's super cool. It used to be around. It's been around for like 7 years. When it first opened, Ashley Rada, if you guys know that cat, it's a really good friend of mine. He used to run it, and then COVID hit, and it kind of got a little wonky. But I came about a year and a half ago, and we just really been trying to. Stephanie works there, Scott works there. It's like a real musician, artistic, hangout thing. We have live music every Friday and Saturday night too. So
that's cool.
It's awesome, man. Yeah. It's like a little community hub of artisticness.
God, I love it.
It's cool, man. Yeah.
Nice one. That's one of the things that that's usually the piece of the puzzle that a group of artistic friends don't have, the venue, but you got it covered.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was talking to Dan the other day, and we were talking about how cool it is what you guys are doing up here, because that's kind of, we come from, especially, and I think you guys too, but we come from a time when it was all about the scene.
Yeah.
And South Florida fluctuates, man. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And lately it seems to be in a rut, last couple of years where the venues are closing. There's not much going on. The scenes are sort of kind of like, slowing down. And it's important to have people that are gonna kind of like, hey, wait a second, like let's get something going on.
Yeah.
And I think with the storytellers for us, that's kind of what's different. Was you could take that anywhere, like what you guys are doing. You can take the acoustic show. You could play a brewery in the afternoon. You could play a late night club. It doesn't matter where you're. You can play backyard or anywhere, and start building that scene. It's like super important, man.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It makes living in Florida. I mean, the weather's lovely, and I've got some great friends here, but it makes it bearable. The fact that there's the music going on.
Yeah, it's a weird town.
Like real music,
Yeah, for sure.
And you've been here pretty much your whole life, haven't you?
On and off, man. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, man. I always wind up back here, no matter where I've lived, no matter where I've gone. LA, Nashville, New York, Carolinas, Texas. Like, it doesn't matter, dude. However much time I spend away, I end up back here, and it makes absolutely no sense.
I can get it. I can understand it. There's something. Florida can be crazy.
It's weird,
but there's also a comfortability to it. It's like it has like, I don't know. I've lived here now for about 14 years, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else now. Really,
I say it all the time. Like I used to travel a lot when I was in the corporate world, and then now even with Killbillies and stuff, like we go and do stuff, and I do the art stuff and travel, and like I've seen a lot of places, and I've enjoyed a lot of places, but I always like. It's always nice to come home, Yeah, Florida's just home.
It's home, right?
It's home.
And I think the thing is I don't know about you guys, but even I'm excruciatingly antisocial. I worked very hard at not acting that way at times, right? But but I am
a fantastic job of the opposite of that right now. I'm very impressed.
It is. It's. I'm very antisocial, right? But I think that's maybe the thing that's cool about South Florida, right, or Florida in general, is that when you go to places like New York or Chicago or Nashville or LA or the hubs, right, you're constantly surrounded by people.
Yeah.
Right? You're constantly, whether it's a subway or the bus or the car or the red light or Starbucks, wherever you're at. And here it's kind of spread out a little bit more, where you can actually be a little bit more on your own.
Okay, yeah.
Here, you
can be on your own and yet still pretty close to everything.
Right, exactly.
Now you're down south, right?
So I'm in Broward. I'm in Broward. I've always sort of been in Broward. I mean, I've been playing on this scene since I was 16. I got my first band. I was like, I had there used to be these little magazines, like Rag magazine.
Yeah,
Rag. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I think I had learned how to play. I took lessons for like a year, about like 15, 16. And I put this little, ad out, and I was like, beginning guitar player into like, I think it was like Sweet, David Bowie, Gary Glitter, New York Dolls, T-Rex, and this band called me, and they were like all 21, 22-year-old guys. So I immediately went from like 0 to 60, The first band that I was in, these guys were playing all these like big places down here.
Cool.
And it was cool. Broward though has always kind of been a hub. There was a time when I was a little older that South Beach started kind of kicking.
Yeah,
right.
And that's when it was like very bohemian and very artistic, and they had places like Club New and Jonestown and the Kitchen Club and the Junkyard, Thrash Can and stuff like that.
Now it's very chic.
Well, I mean, when we were there, I used to live in, we used to actually, when this band that I was in called Sister Venus, we kind of like this Jane's Addiction ripoff band. It was like terrible.
Gotcha.
We were terrible, but we were kind of we were a part of the scene, and we used to actually rehearse at a place called Club Beirut. We would rehearse there Monday through Thursday, and then to pay our rent for rehearsing, we would have to play for free Friday and Saturday nights.
Right.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah,
that
is awesome.
And then slowly, the models and the actresses started coming, and then I think Madonna bought a club, and then Mickey Rourke bought a club.
Right,
Prince opened up his, and that was it.
Yeah.
We just got gentrified right the hell out.
And it's just the rich people of that.
That was it, dude. It always is, right? Yeah. They always take everything from
you. See some interesting characters, though. I remember one time Christy and I were walking down South Beach, and she had hurt her foot in her high heels, so we'd swapped shoes. So I was wearing her high heels, and and she was wearing my boots, and we have the same size feet, which is rare. Anyway,
kind of.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, so there was some guys just sort of standing on the corner, and one of them sort of looked at us and was just like, what do you think's going on there then? And the other guy goes, ain't nothing wrong with that, man. That's just love, that is. I remember that so well.
It's awesome.
And that put me in a great mood for the rest of the night.
Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah, South Beach used to be cool, man. It was a cool place. Well, you know, because in the 80s, it was super Scarface, right? Like, it was like you couldn't, if you were driving in South Beach, the cops would let you run a red light because you were going to get like carjacked or murdered. You know?
Wow.
It was that dangerous.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And what happened is that, remember that TV show Miami Vice?
Yeah.
When Miami Vice started getting popular, tourists would come. They wanted to see where Miami Vice was being filmed. So they would go to South Beach and they would get mugged and beat up. So the cops were like, dude, don't go to South Beach, but nobody would listen. Yeah. So they wound up clearing it out. And once they cleared it out with all like the prostitutes and the pimps and the drug dealers, it was almost abandoned. So all the musicians and artists, we all moved there because it was cheap. I mean, I think I had like a 1-bedroom apartment on Collins for like $500 a month.
Jesus,
that's insane.
Right next to
Collins?
this, yeah, dude. Right next to this like pool hall, and that's when everybody started moving down there, and then the clubs started to open. You had like Washington Square.
I think that's how much it is for parking now.
Oh, dude, yeah, an hour.
An hour.
That's the way it always is, right? I mean, that's the way it always is, no matter where you're at. I mean, even now down in Broward, there's a Sistrunk, right? Sistrunk. When I was in school, dude, you couldn't, like, that was like, no way, you couldn't go there at all. And now they're like building it up. I mean, Chuck Loose had a little warehouse over there. That's where kind of like some of the Day of the Dead started happening over there.
Right.
Some festivals. Now they have like this whole entertainment complex down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, cool.
It's so nuts, man.
Yeah, man. We wrote a song about it called "Polished Chrome and Open Kitchens," about the turnover. Like, you know, where, like an area starts coming up and becomes bohemian, but then because it's cool, people with money who want to be cool move there. But then they realize they don't like the cool. They just They want everyone to move out, and then it just turns over real fast.
But that's what always happens, right? With co-opting. I mean, think about what happened for all of us. I mean, for you know, that, you know, I spent my childhood listening to music that would never be popular. Like, you knew if you were going to be in a punk band, you automatically knew there's no possible way you're making money.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
You're going to work at a convenience store and go out on tour, and that's it. Like, that's your life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, Nirvana and 90 and the mainstream co-ops it. It's the same thing with gentrification of the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
You know, once the artists come in and make it cool, everybody wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, pretty soon you got
money follows.
JCPenney's.
Yeah.
Combat boots at Macy's. You know?
True story.
Yeah, and you're like, you know, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
So what would you say that you write about predominantly? I mean, I've read your bio and stuff like that, but I'm just curious to hear it in your own words. Like what would you say that your inspirations are for writing songs?
I think it's the only. I mean, to get, you know, I mean, to be fully transparent, I think it's one of the places where I can feel, no matter what, it's authentically me.
Right.
And that's something that I can't do on a personal level. Right?
Okay, I can relate to that.
Right? You know, so for some insane reason, to be able to write songs that expose your sins, expose who you are, and be brutally honest and have an honest take on who you are, to be able to stand in front of people and say that is so much easier than having a conversation with somebody in a kitchen table going,
for sure,
this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Because I'll never do that.
I have like crazy respect for you guys, though. I mean, for all you guys, you know, singer-songwriters and stuff. Even doing cover stuff, I keep threatening. I keep talking to Ben, like, yeah, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go out and play some, you know, some solo stuff or whatever. But like, I'm scared shitless to like get out in front. Like you said, there's nobody behind you. You fuck up, it's just you. Yeah. And I can't bring myself to do it. You know, like I mad respect for you guys.
I think that it starts with realizing that the worst thing that can happen is you play a wrong note. You know?
I was just talking when we were driving up here. Me and Scott were talking. I was like, you know, it's really funny. I don't know about you guys. Like, if I get to a show, the day of a show, if I get to a show, and I think to myself, shit, I hope it sounds good, I'm gonna be absolutely freaked out the entire thing. And if I hit a wrong note, it's going to send me in a tailspin. Now, hopefully you won't notice it. It'll be in my head. But if I don't think about that, if I don't do that, it doesn't matter how many wrong notes I make. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's like that setup, right? It's that setup. But also there's that freeing liberation of saying, look, the life that I've led, and I got some hardcore stories,
I mean, we're open to them if you want to tell them.
Oh, brother, I've been to in jail, institution. I mean, I've been everywhere, right?
Right.
And lived that lifestyle. I mean, to me, my superheroes when I was a kid was Sid Vicious and Johnny Thunders and the Dolls and right.
Sure.
So that's, to me, I wanted to emulate them. So, at a very young age, I was, out on the streets, partying, hanging out, and doing that, which...
Yeah, down there, too, you can really get in trouble there.
Dude,
good Lord.
Crazy. Yeah, oh, my God. And especially back then, because then there were no cameras, right? There were no cell phones. There were no cameras. So you could literally rip and run.
Yeah.
And you could get away with it forever.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I remember, we used to drive on suspended licenses like it was like nothing. You get pulled over all the time and it wouldn't be in the system and all that thing. So it was just crazy stuff,
Yeah.
But I think for me, when I look at it, the things that have happened in my life and the things that have occurred, the harm that would happen on stage if I play a wrong note pales in comparison.
Yeah, I got
to any of the harm that I've been through in my entire life.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah, totally.
I've got to get it out some way. And that's the way, right? Is just to stand on stage and scream like, I'm a loser, I'm an idiot, I make wrong decisions, I'm terrible. Because, it's kind of cathartic, right?
Yeah.
Screaming it out at the top of your lungs.
Yeah. And it's a great way to kind of process trauma.
Right. Yeah, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
Trauma processing, right?
Yeah.
It's really.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, sometimes I listen to cats like John Prine's a perfect example, or Steve Earle, where there's these great Chris Christopherson, these great storytellers who have these characters, and sometimes I'll try to do that, and it just sounds so terrible, like
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult not to make those types of songs really cheesy. It's really difficult to. Yeah, I've had the same experience. Like storytelling type songs is
it's hard, man.
Yeah, because it's like. At that point, it's like literature. It's like writing a book or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a cat, John Wesley Harding, who's an acoustic guy who's been around forever, and he had a couple of hit songs in the 80s and 90s, but he actually, after a few records, started writing books.
Yeah.
And that was like awesome, that's what he did. He would tell these stories, and they'd be believable, and they had nothing to do with him at all.
Yeah,
like, fuck, man, I wish I could do that.
No, I know.
Yeah, that's a special ability. That's a superpower.
Right. Yeah. There's a couple I've done a couple. I'm going to try and play one of them on Sunday, but they're not my favorite songs I've written by any stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a couple too.
I'm much better at that, just
writing
explaining something that
about you.
Yeah,
about you. I mean, that's how I how I do it. I can't write about anything else. It's uncomfortable, and I've tried. I've tried to take myself out of it and put myself in a first person scenario or whatever. You're like, all right, this is not working.
I can't write like that. And then the problem I have is when I try to write about myself is I have nothing interesting to say.
That's not true.
Hector always writes about being done wrong by women, which really not happened.
Which is crazy because I've been married 28 years.
That's okay, man. Right? That's cool.
I mean, I'm surprised she hasn't questioned it by this point.
It's like the comedians are always talking about how crappy their wives are. You know what I mean? And it's like, they love it. It's a different take, man. You got it. Yeah, it's totally cool.
It could be a shtick. That's fine.
It's a shtick.
Totally.
That's awesome, man.
So, I think now might be a good time to listen to you play some songs. How does that sound?
Cool, man.
Let's get at it.
All right.
Roll at the end of the film that you saw last night in a row. How come all the happy ones always seem to end so soon? She and her sad brown eyes between the makeup and the lies. Bedroom sheets giving no comfort for goodbye. to ride the subway, and she will shuffle out on the street. She picks up wasted words and scripts her scene. Troubled by a mama who could not give her a home. Her daddy had his demons, but he never done left her alone. Every day she wakes up to the dawn. Everything comes out when she yawns. Caroline, don't give yourself away. Caroline, don't give yourself away. Just remember this, a kiss is just a kiss. Right! One, two, three. You could paint your perfect picture when you're hanging out with someone new. You could clean your palette and your canvas when you're feeling old and blue. But I won't forget my past. I won't deny that I'm the one who is taking the fall. Why I'm the one who hurts most of all. Why I'm the one, yeah. I'm the one. Why I'm the one. You can deny everything and everyone I've ever spoken to. You can't deny all the disappointment that I feel when I'm with you. That's so much disappointment. And I won't forget my past. I won't deny that I'm the one who has taken the fall. Why I'm the one who hurts most of all. Why I'm the one, I'm the one. Why I'm the one, yeah, I'm the one. Oh, I'm the could have been anything that you wanted me to be.
Oasis route Kava bar is in Seagrape Square on Indiantown Road, and It is a Kava bar. If you don't know anything about Kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water. And it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, that brings people together. You all take a shell of kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, there's sort of like blacklight and EDM playing. And some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby foot as they call it in France. Yeah, Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Route. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band Unemployed Youth accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue. We can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in and it was a real success. Outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. Okay, so we just listened to some ads. One of them was about Live Music Community, and as I say every week, it's where we're sitting right now, and it's a place where young and upcoming musicians come to learn the craft. So do you have any advice for people just starting out?
Learn your craft, really learn your craft and be passionate about it, and know that practice, is always a thing, learning your stuff. Don't listen to your gut kind of thing, do what you feel you need to do to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And there's always people along the way that will share advice. And sometimes it's good to listen to those guys. I often remember some of my old guitar teachers and people like that who at the time I would say, ugh. And then I look back and I go,
yeah,
they were right.
It's something that I wish that I had taken to heart. And it was something that I struggled with. I mean, it's just a bit ADHD, so it's just like I always used to try and run before I could walk. I didn't go through if I'd slowed down and learned basics better first and slowly gone through it as you should, then that would have set me up in better stead. But it's so difficult. I just don't have that kind of brain, I guess.
No, but when you're a kid, when I was I remember for some crazy reason, I remember my guitar teacher was demanding that I learned how to play Don't Dream It's Over. Remember that song by Kava House? Right. And I don't know why, because it was like the C minor, I think it was like a C sharp minor in there, a couple of major sevenths that were kicking in there. And he really wanted, and I was so aggravated that he wanted me to learn this stuff because I wanted to learn how to play, Greg Hetson from Bad Religion. And
right.
I wanted to know, where am I going to go? How do you play that Chuck Berry lick the way that Johnny Thunders played, I want to know that. I don't want to know. And now, go figure, I use a lot of major sevenths and sharp minors, and I'm like, what's up, man?
Yeah,
I could have gotten there quicker.
Yeah,
but it's cool, man. It's cool. But today, listen, man. Today is a different. Music is different, man. The music business is different. Learning music is different.
Yeah.
It's much more out there. I mean, for me, my dad had we had to go drive. I think we had to drive like almost 30 minutes to get to a guitar teacher, and that was like in a dangerous part of town, and it was like, it was, now you can learn on your phone. So
it's so much more accessible, man. I haven't played, I used to play alto and baritone sax many moons ago. Like I'm talking probably 25, 30 years ago. And, just recently decided I was going to pick up the baritone again. And it was quite literally 5 minutes online to order one.
Right.
Got here, a week later or whatever it was. And then within minutes on YouTube and lessons and, going back and going over all the fingering and everything. But it was like it's just so accessible. Like I didn't have to find a teacher. I didn't have to get books. It was just like baritone lessons. Oh, there's 15,000 of them.
And it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But then again, like sometimes I think it's not kind of cool, right? Because there is something to be said for having this desire, this unquenchable thirst, and having to work at getting to where you need to be.
Yeah, because then sometimes it feels hard won. And
and you continuously work at that, right? Yeah. And when it's so easily accessible, I don't know, sometimes I think...
Well, it's kid in a candy store stuff. It's like, what do you end up choosing? When you have everything, you end up not choosing anything or doing anything.
Right.
This definitely can happen. But I found it useful. But I have to say there's something to be said for having a teacher as well. It keeps you accountable. If you actually have an in-person teacher, then it, or at least a Zoom one,
Sure.
It means that you, every week they're going to be like, did you practice?
Right. Right.
Which is great. Really, that's like the main job of a teacher is to have someone say, did you practice once a week?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Keep you honest, man.
Yeah, totally. So you played us a couple of songs. Could you illuminate us a little bit as to what they were about?
Yeah. So I think I did Caroline. Caroline's just a story. When I have 3 daughters. My oldest is Kaylin. She's 24. And I have identical twins. They'll be 17 next month. Willow and Sky.
Cool.
And and Kaylin had decided after high school that she wasn't going to go to college in here. She wanted to go to New York. And I was like, wow. And it was a very weird thing because as a dad, especially as a punk rock dad, right? You're like, dude, whatever, it's cool. But then all of a sudden, your first goes and you're like, suddenly I'm like this old, lady moping around the house. Like, oh my God. So this song was kind of like what I envisioned, a young lady moving to the city for the first time and stuff like that. And I tried to make things, and I wish it was something cooler, but I did try to make things rhyme with Kaylin, and it really wasn't working. So I got the word, I got the name Caroline from Pretty in Pink.
Sure.
From the first psychedelic
classic song.
It's a good one, right? Yeah. Velvet Underground too. So that's really just a story about a young girl in the city for one of the first times. And then
that's a great thing to write a song about.
Yeah, it was cool. It's
Did you find it cathartic?
Oh, very much so. Even when I still sing it, right?
Yeah.
It's still, I close my eyes and I just, I envision her walking the streets of New York and, taking the subway and hanging out and, interacting with all these things that she never was able to interact with before, And as much as selfishly, saying, I don't want you to go, understanding that the best growth and independence for your child is to let them go and do this. It was cool, be a little bit more excited about it. And I think the second one is Pigeon, a song called Pigeon.
Yeah.
And that's when I play that live, you can download that off the Honest Liars website. That's a full band song. Both of them are. But Pigeon, I don't know, man. I always thought about pigeons as kind of like I can relate to them, right? Because like you're a bird. Like a pigeon's a bird, and everybody loves birds, but no one likes the pigeon. And everybody's always like, oh, birds, they have pretty songs, but no one likes the pigeon's song, right? The way that they sing, everybody's like, like hacky. And I always felt like I feel like a pigeon, man. You know, and I'm a person, but not a beautiful person, and I write songs, but they may not be the songs of a bluebird. You know, they're so yeah. So and that's just a broken heart song, right? It's understanding that you know. Most of my songs are about redemption and salvation and regret and you know, introspection and understanding. You know, as a human, the human condition and being a human being is really, really hard. Yeah, and I think that we forget about that a lot of the times because we get so involved in work or relationships, or whatever it is that we do, right? That we really forget
what's happening around.
Dude, being a human being is hard.
It is hard. And you know what? Every now and again, like after long periods of work, every now and again I'll get home and I'll stop for a second and I'll be like, even if I'm just working super hard, I'll be like, you know, nothing bad has happened for like a period of time. Like this is just the best thing. You know, I'm grateful just to not be having a terrible time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, but see, when that happens to me, like nothing bad's happened for a while, I start getting in my own head and going, okay, something bad's probably about to happen because it's been way too long.
Yeah, well, it's also our relationship to what bad and good is and all that stuff right there, right?
That's true.
I dig it. I always there's times where I stop and I'm just like, whether it's at work or at home or with the kids or even in the band or even playing, you know, and there's just that moment where I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like this is living life. I am a human being on this rock. Like, wow.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy. Like I actually have responsibility as a human being, and those responsibilities take me away from my relationship as a human being.
Yeah.
Right. And this is craziness.
So talking about these big themes, have you been observing like Buddhism these days?
Yeah, my whole life.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Jewish, but when I was getting bar mitzvahed, my mom was like an avid reader. She's big liberal, you know, lady, and we had thousands of books in the house all the time.
Right.
You know? And before I was bar mitzvahed, she came to me and she basically gave me a set of theological books. I think it was Catholicism, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and I want to say Taoism or something. It was like crazy. And we read them all together. She's like, listen, this is who you are, but there's a lot of thoughts and ideologies out there, and take a read. I think when I was 14, and Buddhism just stuck with me and I fell in love with it. And then I just went through that, and you know, I studied with a Tibetan monk for a while.
Wow.
And then took the ceremony and took refuge in the Dharma and the Sangha and all that stuff. Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. And so now, you know, just kind of, I'm not I always say, I mean, whatever path anybody happens to follow is totally cool. I mean, if you're on something, it's cool. For me, I'm a little bit more hardcore when it comes to stuff like that, where it's like, you know, I'm not a coexist bumper sticker Buddhist, right?
Right.
In fact, some of the Buddhism that I was, you know, Manny from Teenage Bottle Rocket, he writes a lot of books on Buddhism and the Dharma punks and Against the Stream and stuff like that. There's more stuff like that I'm into. With Noah, you know, I was actually going to bring Dharma punks down here for a while.
Oh, really?
I was really into that. Yeah, I was hanging out with Noah for a while. But yeah, you know, it's just kind of more of like just you know, you don't need a $100 prayer mat and beads and all that stuff. Like, you just be, you know, this is what it is and this is how it is. And
wicked.
A lot of times we find that the people that are the most vocal, right, about the new age stuff are the ones that you find screaming at the 16-year-old cashier at Whole Foods. Right?
Yeah, sure.
You know, because they didn't accept a coupon.
Sure.
You're missing the point. Thank God you're looking for one, but you know, that's cool, man. That's cool.
No, that's very interesting. I don't know a huge amount about Buddhism, and I feel like that's something that should change. Yeah, man. So I was admiring your hummingbird guitar, so I feel like we should talk about that a little bit, man. Because
look at that beauty.
To bring up Dom again, this is what he plays, and he makes sound beautiful, and so do you. What was how did you find yourself playing one of these?
So I have probably given up and retired from music over a half a dozen times, right?
Yeah.
Where I get sick of it. I'm tired of it. It's ruining my life. Forget it. And I sell all my equipment. I walk. Well, one time I had decided to come back, and I was like, okay, well, let me start small. So that's when I started buying acoustics. And I think before this, I had a Gibson J45, which is great.
Yeah.
But they're, stuff like this is like super expensive, and you're traveling to these gigs and you're doing all this stuff. And I'm not, as you can tell, when I play, I beat the hell out of my guitars.
Yeah,
right?
me too.
So I just started thinking to myself, like, what can I do? And I started looking at some different stuff. And my guitar player from the Honest Liars and Los Diablos, George Hernandez, who plays with Humbert and those guys, he got turned on to, inspired by Gibson, Epiphone decided to come out with this line of guitars called Inspired by Gibson. Basically what it is all the gear, all the wood, all the gear, all the pegs and the bridges and the tunings and everything is all Gibson stuff.
Right.
The only difference is that they don't make them by hand, right? They don't.
Okay.
So you can save that money, but the quality of the instrumentation is as good as you get. So
yeah, good to know.
I bought that. He swears by him. He's bought like I think he's got like 7 or 8. He's got like an SG and a Les Paul, and and these guys are players. George is a player, so he's got all the Gibson stuff. These were amazing. So then I wound up buying that and just immediately fell in love. I played that and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's
very
awesome,
cool.
man.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
It's cool. And and you can and for me it's like I can beat the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And take it out and scream at it. And,
yeah, you're not gonna have to remortgage the house if you break it.
No, dude. And,
I mean, it's not to say that it, it's like that, right? Sort of like mid-price, they just seems like a great guitar, right?
Yeah, I think it was like $1,200.
Yeah.
But I'm not a pretty player, so getting something like a Taylor or Martin doesn't make sense for me because I'm still punk, the way that I play and the way I attack the chords.
Yeah.
So I'm not really a pretty player, and also,
it has a lot of bass. It has a lot of low end, which I really like about it.
Yeah.
It's a good guitar for backing yourself with just a guitar.
And if you're in the studio, listen, it's a completely different story if you're in the studio, right?
Yeah.
If you're in the studio, you're going to grab the Gibsons. You're going to grab it because you're getting that timbre and that tone and all that stuff that you're going to get in a warm room. But bro, when you're playing on stage through these PAs and through the house, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It really, honestly, you want something that's comfortable, that's going to sound good. Yeah. Obviously, you don't want a $50 guitar, but you don't need
right.
You don't need a $3,000, $3,500 acoustic guitar when you're playing Tarpon River Brewery.
Yeah, exactly.
Anchors Away. You know what I mean? You just don't need it.
Exactly. If anything, it would make you play worse because you'd be worrying about your guitar the whole time.
I used to have a Gibson Firebird.
Yeah.
I was like, and I remember after it was the same thing. I was a nervous wreck about it, and I think it was after a show. I think it might have been like 17, and I went into a gas station, and I came out gone.
Right. Oh my God, I've lost so many instruments.
Dude, it sucks so
every time I hear something happen to someone else.
Yeah. I've never lost one like that, like out of a car or something like that. But when I was like, God, man, I was probably 18. My parents' house got broken into. And for whatever reason, I have to believe it was somebody that knew me or knew of me or something, because for whatever reason, the only room in the house that got ransacked was mine. And I lost like terrible 3 bass guitars, an acoustic guitar, a saxophone.
What's the chances of that? It's just yours?
Yeah, it was just my room, dude.
Oh my God.
It's just my
That's
bed.
an inside job, man.
It's just my bed.
Maybe it's someone who needs
my mom. She threw it all away.
Right, my mom. And that's why I played punk rock today.
Yeah. F you, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. Take my stuff.
Teach you. Now look at me, Mom.
Now look at me. Who got who now? Mom.
So, what's coming up? What you got coming up? Anything that we should know about?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I do the storytellers, the day drinking with the storytellers every second Sunday over at Tarpon.
Yeah, wicked. Which now I'm going to come to.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to have you, and I'm excited about that, man. It's awesome.
Nice,
I think I know at the brewery we got this really cool thing, the Dan Hucker Music Continuum.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. So Dan Hucker was this super cool guy that played in a bunch of different bands down here, but his main thing was a guitar player for the Holy Terrors.
Gotcha.
And they were an amazing band. So unfortunately, he was coming home from a gig one night, and I guess some things fell out of the car. One of the things happened, and he wound up losing his life. And so ever since then, Rob Elba, who was his closest friend, and a bunch of people on the scene, every year we throw a big anniversary party, and there's about 25 different bands that play.
Yeah.
And every year it's a different theme. And this theme is reunions. So there's a bunch of bands from like the 90s that are getting back together and playing. Yeah. And it's super cool. It's a super good, and it's a charitable event. They do a raffle thing, and I think what it is they give it to two charities. One of the charities is for a musical endowment for Dan's old high school in Boston.
Right.
That they give to some underprivileged kids, and then the other one is like one. Sometimes it goes to like the Miami rock camp, Miami Girls Rock Camp, or School of Rock and stuff like that. That they do. So that's coming up, I think, December 8th, and then and then I think I'll be playing Revelry with Ashley Ritta in January, and
nice.
Kind of seeing that. And the Liars will probably play. We play the Honest Liars play once or twice a year, so I think we'll probably be ready to play in March. Or
Nice one, man. I have to say, this has been a real treat. Thanks, Ricky, if you're listening.
Thank you, Ricky.
And it's just it's been a pleasure to meet you. You're the real deal. You're someone who cares a lot about their art, and that that's all we want on this show is people who mean it.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming. Like it was on a Wednesday night. It's a little bit of a trek. So you're a nice one.
What are you going to do on a Wednesday night?
Yeah,
another rerun of Law and Order.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, don't knock it.
I'm all in, man. Marathons and all.
I love Law and Order.
Hector, do you have anything you want to say?
Absolutely nothing. No. 561 Music Festival, guys. If you haven't heard of it, it's going into its 4th year, and so if you haven't heard of it, you live under a rock. But if you're a band out there and you want to play the festival, submit to the festival.
Submit.
That's right. The application. If you go to 561music.com, you can find the application on there. You can find it on all our socials. At 561 Music Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, et cetera, and just apply. In the past, we've made people. We've only chosen people that had been on the podcast, et cetera, and you didn't really apply for it. This year, we're doing it different. We're taking submissions. We have a group of guys, a committee, if you will, that are going to go through all the submissions. You can submit until December 20th, I believe. And then we're going to take a couple of weeks. We're going to go through all submissions, and sometime in the beginning of January, we're going to announce who the 20 bands that we picked are. And so, I mean, if you haven't been on the podcast, it's not a big deal. Just submit, put in your application. If you have been on the podcast, great. And if you haven't been on the podcast, we'll get you on the podcast before the actual festival. And then
absolutely.
So, and then
it's exciting.
We're going to do tickets a little bit differently and everything this year, but we'll get to all that when the time comes. First, we're going to get the band in the lineup. So
exactly. Nice one. Well, I always leave that to you because you there might be something that I missed. So all the details.
It's all good. It's all good.
Nice one. All right. Thanks so much for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well,
thank you.
Nice one.
All right.
Take a better scene, it's what we're doing. Come and check it out, it's what we're all about.